How do you deal with a nagging spouse, a nagging friend, a nagging parent, a nagging child, or a nagging whoever, probably even a nagging pet? Let's talk about it. Hi there, welcome back to my channel. I am StephREDD, and here I share my perspectives with you in anticipation that you would share yours with me as well. My perspective today borders around nagging. Are you a nag? Who's a nag? How do we define a nag? And at what point does someone become a nag, or do we categorize someone as a nag? A nag is someone who says something repeatedly so that someone else will get something done for them. So they keep going over and over a particular thing because they want someone to do something for them. And what happens many times in a nagging situation is the nag could move from just saying something repeatedly to criticizing repeatedly and fault-finding repeatedly in such a way that it now becomes irritating and annoying for the person that they're speaking with. And the person becomes really frustrated, and sometimes the person just wants to run away. I think it's somewhere in the Bible where it says that it is better, much better for a man to live at the top of the roof than to live in the same house with a nagging wife, because a nagging wife is like constantly dripping water, which is irritating to the ears. You know how it is, where you're trying to have some peace and quiet, and you're probably just in a rest mode, and you just hear tap, 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 and you're like, where's that from? You want to turn it off. That is how a nagging wife or a nagging woman or a nagging person has been described. But my question is it only women that nag? Do men nag too? Now, a nagging person pretty much is trying to, like I said, trying to get you to do something for them. And when you don't do that thing for them, it makes them repeat it, it makes them rehearse it, it makes them criticize in the process and find fault in what you're doing and why you're not coming forth and why you're not showing up in the way that they want you to show up, not necessarily how you want to show up. And even if it's a way that is in your interest, because of the way that they say it, you are not even interested in it, because they pretty much trigger the negative side of you and trigger emotions that cause you now to want to rebel against what they're trying to get you to do. So I've just written down a few things to identify what makes people nag. So someone could be nagging because, one, you're not listening, or because you're forgetting quickly and you are not responding to what they have asked you to do or what they want you to do. And even if it's something that you don't want to do, you are not communicating to let them know your stance on a particular thing. Or even if you are communicating, the person probably is not seeing reason in what you're saying. So because they're not seeing reason, both of you are not able to find common ground. And because in the place of common ground, that's where you have peace. So in communicating your likes and your preferences and your dislikes, the person who is tagged a nag, who keeps repeating and rehearsing and saying it irritatingly, wants something done or wants a particular thing. And when they want something done, they are not considering that what they want done may not be what the other person wants done. How does the other person now come to the place where you are able to express your own desires, your personal desires for the situation, and look for how to find common ground to say, okay, that's what you want, this is what I want. How do we hybrid? How do we take some of yours and take some of mine? Or in the best interest of some of this, that, and the other, what's the best way to go? And how do we just engage on it without repeating? And another thing, if I am at fault at something or have done something wrong, you point it out and let the person know. So what should probably happen in that situation is, how do you set goals around not repeating the same thing again? Because one would tend to sound like a nag when they're saying something and there's no change seen, and the thing could actually be affecting them personally. So they want the other person to shift grounds. They want the other person to come around, to favor them. And the best way to do that is for the other person now to find, how do we find common ground, and how do I come around to meet you halfway while you meet me halfway? That is going to go a long way to help a nagging situation. Every human being wants to preserve their power. And we pretty much will do this when we think that someone is trying to attack us. We will self-protect when we think someone is trying to drag us down. So regardless of what level of power we have, we want to protect our power. So in doing that, we would fight back. In doing that is either for those that cower and run, they cower and run to preserve their power. That's how they know how to do it. They cower and run from the nag. From those that don't cower and run, they actually either they get aggressive with the nag, which is subtly aggressive, which is passive aggressive, with the nag to say, oh, you're nagging me, keep nagging. I'm just going to keep ignoring you, so it will pain you. Passive aggression. They know that it is hurting you, but they have somewhat built a tough skin to say, I ain't gonna, you think you're crazy, I'm gonna tell you that I'm pseudo crazy. So they intentionally do things subtly that triggers you or triggers the person to nag the more. And while the person is nagging the more and irritated, they're laughing, tick, 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 right? And then the aggressive person now also, when you nag and nag and nag, they can't take it, they hit you. Because they feel that your persistent nagging is eroding their power. And to preserve their power, they come right back at you. So at the end of the day, it's pretty much coming to self-awareness on both parts to say, what can I do to get this person to do what I want? And how is what I want mutually beneficial to me and the other person who is also a part of the situation? Because it's not just about what I want, but also what is mutually beneficial to me and the other person that I am working with, or the other person that I am with in this situation. Because you wouldn't nag a stranger. You wouldn't just see a stranger passing a good nagging, like dogs nag, I believe. They just nag. Whoa, 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 whoa. They just keep barking and barking at people that go by. I think dogs nag. Yes, they do. I have a pet. I have a puppy. And she nags. Someone said because she's a she. She nags. Just anybody just passing. Whoa, 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 whoa. It's not your business. Why are you? What's annoying you? What are you complaining about? Okay, back to the issue. You won't pretty much just see a stranger and go nah, 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 nah. No. It is someone that works closely with you. It's someone in close proximity that you tend to nag at, because that's the person that you feel you should have his or her ears, that you feel should be listening to you. And when they're not listening to you, you keep repeating it and you keep getting angrier and you keep criticizing. So how in trying to get better as communicating spouses and communicating parents to child and friends to one another, we need to become more aware of what is the person saying and am I listening. And the nagging person too, going back to preserving power, what you do if you are in that position is you push the person to become defensive. And when a person is defensive, they don't hear your reason, they only hear your emotions. And if your emotions are toxic, the person will pretty much preserve. The person will not see reason in anything you are saying. Even if you are correct, how much more if you're not? Even if you are justified, how much more if you're not? Because all they see is you attacking them. All they see is you attacking their emotions, attacking their minds, attacking their personality, and attacking them. And sometimes in nagging, persistent nagging, You could also, because you're trying to get someone to do something that you want them to do, you're criticizing, you're fault finding, and soon you're name calling. And it gets so much the person can't take it any longer. The person self-defends, self-protects. However, they're going to self-defend if they're going to run away, or if they're going to subtly hurt you, or they are going to directly hurt you. So every one of us, we have to ensure that we are not unconsciously pushing someone to self-defend, unconsciously pushing another to self-protect. But how are we doing our best to help people live while we live? We call live and let live. So to curb that nagging wife, to curb that nagging husband, or to curb that nagging friend, or to curb that nagging puppy, I hope she doesn't bark anytime soon, we have to learn how to now communicate from our own place of frustration or personal perspective, and get the person to see that, oh, that's how you see life. This is how I see it. And if we have to keep working in proximity, we have to find common ground. We have to come to the place to understand that the world doesn't revolve around each individual, each of us individually. It revolves around us collectively. And for us to progress together, we have to work together. We have to use the words that are healing words and not destroying, crushing, or breaking words. When you speak, I need to listen to you because I want to understand you and understand the perspective from which you're speaking, and then also speak from my perspective, hoping that you would listen and understand my perspective, and then based on both sides clearly airing themselves, we look for how to find common ground. Now, communication is transmitting information, whether information to inform, to entertain, to coerce, to convert, whatever it is, but quite importantly, to ensure understanding. Now, understanding does not necessarily mean agreement. I can understand where you're coming from, but I don't agree with you. And you can understand where I'm coming from and don't agree with me. What's most important is, okay, if we have to work together, where can we agree? How can we find common ground? And one of the illustrations I like to use is, if I come with my red, so not just red frames now, but not just red frames, but red lenses. So my lenses are red. Everything in my world would look red. And then I am with someone, a friend, a spouse, with whom I'm trying to achieve a goal together with, and the person has blue lenses. It's going to take forever, and time is just going to be wasted, and no one is going to understand anything if I keep insisting that my world is red and I am correct. And as far as he's concerned, or as far as she's concerned, whoever my team member is, the world is blue and he or she is correct, or the other team is correct, because that's how we see perspectives. But up until we align both lenses, where I put my red lens over your blue lens, and for the sake of the team, we see a purple world, and as long as the team stands together, it is purple. Otherwise, we will remain separate, disconnected, because we are refusing to find common ground. So we see disconnection and misalignment when I keep seeing a blue world and you keep seeing I keep seeing a red world and you keep seeing a blue world. But if this has to exist, if this has to work, then we have to align our perspectives. Otherwise, I'll keep nagging about how the world is red and you are refusing to listen. I'll keep nagging you and telling you, you don't listen. That's how the other time I told you this thing was red, you didn't listen. That's how the other time I told you, and you're just tired of hearing it. The other, you told me, I'm tired of hearing, for goodness sakes. You're the one not listening. The world is blue. Look, that is blue. That is blue because you haven't taken time to take off your lenses and align to ensure that you see the same thing. Up until that happens, we'll keep nagging each other on different things. So just try and use this analogy on everything you do, in everything you do, at your places of work, in your marriage, in your business, and see how it is, where you are trying to pass a point, but the other person is trying to pass a point. Both parties can just come to the place of awareness to say, okay, what do I really want in this situation? What does the other person want? Okay, how can we find common ground? Because can two work together except they agree? If you don't agree, it's going to be an effort in futility. So I have a checklist, and I'm just going to read out my checklist to you. Check yourself first. I've talked about checking yourself, and I said also take notes of what the person has said, and then after taking notes, try and find out how you can align your own notes with the notes, and then talk about it, and then come to the table with the heart to want to hear, and the heart to want to heal together, and the heart to want to make something work together. Also, define your expectations and clarify your outcomes, and give room for compromise. Give balance, equivalent room for compromise, because the thing about compromises, which is one of the conflict resolution strategies, is it's often the person with the strongest personality that would keep winning in a compromise situation. So if the other person is not quite self-assertive, the person who is more aggressive would keep winning in a compromise situation, which is why I talk more about collaboration and not compromising. In collaboration, it is bring yours, bring mine. Let's just put it together. How do we work together? What can we do as a hybrid together without anybody feeling that they have lost or losing their power? But then it's pretty much the higher goal of the higher, thinking of the higher goal for the team, or thinking of the higher purpose for the team. Listen to hear. Listen to actually hear, not to talk back, not to want to defend, but actually hear when the person is speaking. And also when you're speaking, do not speak to attack. Do not speak to draw defensiveness out of the person, because when you do that, of course, remember I said the person would block up, the person would lock up, the person would self-protect. It's natural. You want to preserve yourself. You want to protect yourself, right? Against imminent danger. Imminent danger. So communicate your reason. Let's talk about that. Communicate your reason and not your emotion. Your emotions are, because the way you speak, you know, when they talk about how you speak, is it just because of that thing I said? So it's not just what you said, it is how you said it. You can say, get out, Joe. Yeah, get out, Joe. The person will laugh. My dear, get out! Get out, get out! How you said it is different. So what the person would accept as a joke, depending on how you say it, when you said it, where you said it, could read a different meaning to the person that is hearing it. So it's very important that we communicate correctly, in communicating our reason and not our emotion, not the anger that we feel or the irritation that we feel or the frustration that we feel, but the reason behind the frustration, which is what is actually the underlying intent. The frustration is the overlying intent, is your response to how you actually feel. So communicate the reason that is making you feel that way. Don't communicate what you are feeling, because when you communicate what you're feeling, when you communicate with your emotions, you communicate what you're feeling. The person hears your feelings, and it's like an attack, because it's aggressive, it is nagging, it's irritating, it's annoying. So the person would shield away and eventually not hear your reason. Yes, and finally, do not provoke defensiveness, but help. Said that before, I'm saying it again. Help the person to preserve their power, to know that you're thinking about them and not just thinking about yourself in the situation, because it's not just all about you. I know there's a lot of message these days of what makes me happy, I'm doing what makes me happy, but hey, if what makes me happy is to drive 180 kilometers per hour on a designated 50-kilometer driveway, and someone else is driving 50 kilometers, it's just a matter of time before there's going to be a crash. So what makes me happy actually stops where what makes someone else happy. So if we keep understanding that the world is not just all about us and how we feel, such that we keep nagging every other person because we want to have our way, which is what children do. But then we'll learn that for every time we think about ourselves, there's a mutual interest for someone else, and vice versa. So we are moving circumspectly, respecting the people that we meet along the way, and quite importantly, respecting the people that mean so much to us, that are within our space and within our immediate sphere of influence, so that we can have more peaceable lives and build stronger relationships and connect stronger with people and become better leaders in society. So that is what I pretty much wanted to share with you today regarding how to become a better friend, spouse, parent, child to whoever it is by speaking from your place of power and confidence and strength, as against speaking from your place of weakness, anxiety, where you keep nagging and complaining and whining and annoying the person you're speaking with, such that the person doesn't want to listen to you anymore. And I'm sure we all like to be heard. I'd like to hear from you. Share your perspectives regarding the subject or any other subject that I have talked about. Send me a message. You can drop a message in the comment section below, or send me a message to info@StephREDD.com, any of my social media platforms @I am StephREDD, and I would be glad to rub minds with you and share perspectives with you, I beg your pardon, and hear you. So up until then, you make sure that no matter what comes or goes, no matter what gives in or doesn't, you never give up until you win. And even if you don't win, it's okay. Just ensure, by all means, that you finish strong. Have a fantastic day.